encircled by hostiles, magazine empty, when a SEAL sniper offered her his gun. The desert sun beat down mercilessly on the small outpost in Afghanistan's Helmand province. Staff Sergeant Maria Rodriguez crouched behind a crumbling mud wall, her heart pounding as she counted her remaining ammunition. 3 rounds left. The Taliban fighters had been closing in for over 2 hours, and her team was scattered across the compound after their convoy hit an improvised explosive device on the dusty road leading to the village. Rodriguez had been a military police officer for 6 years, but nothing in her training had prepared her for this level of sustained combat. The ambush had started when they were delivering medical supplies to the remote village. What was supposed to be a routine humanitarian mission had turned into a nightmare when insurgents surrounded their position from 3 sides, using the maze-like village streets to their advantage. The radio crackled with desperate voices from her team members pinned down in different locations. Private Chen was trapped in a house 50 meters away, nursing a wounded leg. Sergeant Williams had taken cover behind their destroyed Humvee with 2 other soldiers, but they were running low on ammunition too. The enemy had planned this attack perfectly, waiting until the American forces were deep inside the village before springing their trap. Rodriguez pressed her back against the wall as bullets chipped away at the concrete above her head. She could hear the insurgents shouting to each other in Pashto, coordinating their movements to tighten the noose around the American position. Through a crack in the wall, she glimpsed muzzle flashes from at least 8 different positions. The enemy had superior numbers and knew the terrain intimately. Her radio squawked with an urgent message from base command. Reinforcements were 30 minutes out, but that felt like a lifetime given their current situation. The helicopter extraction point was 200 meters away across open ground, an impossible distance to cover under such heavy fire. Rodriguez checked her weapon again, confirming what she already knew. 3 rounds and 2 grenades were all that stood between her and capture or death. The sound of boots on gravel made her freeze. Someone was moving along the alley beside her position, trying to flank her hiding spot. She raised her rifle, finger on the trigger, preparing to make every shot count. The footsteps grew closer, accompanied by hushed voices speaking in accented English. These weren't her team members. A shadow appeared at the corner of her vision. Rodriguez held her breath, knowing that her next decision could determine not only her fate but the survival of her entire team. The desert wind carried the acrid smell of gunpowder and dust, mixing with her own sweat as she waited for the perfect moment to act. Time seemed to slow as she prepared to face whatever came around that corner. Knowing that her 3 remaining bullets might be the difference between life and death, for everyone counting on her to hold this position until help arrived. The figure that rounded the corner wasn't wearing Taliban clothing. Instead, Rodriguez found herself face to face with a bearded man in desert camouflage, his gear different from standard army issue. His eyes were sharp and calculating, scanning her position with the quick assessment of a seasoned warrior. She kept her rifle trained on him, uncertain whether he was friend or foe in the chaos of the firefight. "Easy there, Sergeant," the stranger said in a calm American accent, holding up one hand while gripping a high-powered sniper rifle with the other. "Chief Petty Officer Marcus Thompson, SEAL Team 6. Looks like you could use some backup." His presence seemed to radiate competence and control, even in the middle of the deadly ambush that had Rodriguez's heart racing. Thompson moved with fluid precision as he assessed their tactical situation. He explained that his 4-man SEAL team had been conducting a separate mission in the area when they heard the firefight and diverted to assist. His teammates were already positioning themselves around the village perimeter, but the situation was more dire than they had initially realized. The Taliban had set up a sophisticated kill zone designed to eliminate any American forces that entered. "How many rounds you got left?" Thompson asked, noting the way Rodriguez was conserving her ammunition. When she admitted to having only 3 bullets remaining, his expression grew more serious. He quickly explained that the insurgents had been planning this ambush for weeks, using the humanitarian mission as bait to draw American forces into a carefully prepared trap. The SEAL operator studied the enemy positions through his rifle scope, counting muzzle flashes and identifying key targets. He explained that the Taliban fighters were using a classic pincer movement, slowly closing in from multiple directions while maintaining covering fire to prevent the Americans from reaching the extraction point. Standard infantry tactics wouldn't work against such a coordinated attack. Rodriguez watched in amazement as Thompson began calling out enemy positions to his SEAL teammates over his radio, using tactical language she had never heard before. His calm demeanor under fire was unlike anything she had witnessed, even from experienced soldiers in her unit. He seemed to view the deadly situation as a complex problem to be solved, rather than a life-or-death struggle. "Here's the situation," Thompson said, pulling out a detailed map of the village. "Your team is scattered across 3 positions, all running low on ammo. The extraction point is covered by at least 2 machine gun nests, and they've got snipers in the minaret in that 3-story building." His finger traced the enemy positions with surgical precision. The radio chattered with reports from Rodriguez's team members. Private Chen's condition was worsening, and Sergeant Williams reported movement suggesting the Taliban was preparing for a final assault. Thompson listened to each transmission, building a mental picture of the battlefield that seemed far more complete than what Rodriguez had been able to piece together from her limited vantage point. As if reading her thoughts, Thompson explained that SEAL training emphasized battlefield awareness and rapid tactical assessment. He had been studying this type of urban warfare for over a decade, including multiple deployments in similar terrain. The situation was critical, but not hopeless if they could execute a coordinated counterattack using the element of surprise. Thompson's radio crackled with a report that made both operators freeze. His SEAL teammate had spotted a group of insurgents moving heavy weapons toward Rodriguez's team positions. The Taliban wasn't just trying to capture or kill the Americans. They were preparing to obliterate them with rocket-propelled grenades and mortars. The timeline for survival had just shortened dramatically. "We've got maybe 10 minutes before they bring the heavy stuff to bear," Thompson said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "After that, your people won't have enough cover to survive." He studied Rodriguez carefully, seeming to evaluate her capabilities under pressure. "I'm going to need you to do something that goes against every instinct you have as a soldier." The SEAL explained that his team could neutralize most of the enemy positions, but they needed someone to draw the insurgents' attention at precisely the right moment. Rodriguez would have to expose herself deliberately, making the Taliban fighters focus their fire on her position, while Thompson and his teammates eliminated them systematically. It was an incredibly dangerous gambit that required perfect timing and nerves of steel. Rodriguez felt her mouth go dry as Thompson outlined the plan. She would have to run across 30 meters of open ground to reach a better fighting position, drawing enemy fire while Thompson provided covering shots from his sniper rifle. The margin for error was virtually non-existent. One mistimed movement or missed shot could result in her death and the failure of the entire rescue operation. "I won't lie to you, Sergeant," Thompson said, checking his rifle scope. "This is going to be the most dangerous thing you've ever done. But your team doesn't have any other options. My guys can handle their end, but we need someone with local knowledge of your people's positions to coordinate the breakout." His confidence was reassuring, but Rodriguez could see the weight of responsibility in his eyes. The sound of incoming mortars whistled overhead, impacting 50 meters away and showering their position with debris. The Taliban was zeroing in their heavy weapons, and time was running out faster than anyone had anticipated. Thompson's radio buzzed with urgent reports from his teammates. They were in position, but the enemy was also accelerating their timeline for the final assault. Rodriguez checked her rifle one more time, acutely aware of her 3 remaining rounds. Thompson noticed her concern and made a decision that would forever change how she viewed courage under fire. He began unscrapping his sidearm from his tactical vest, a decision that went against every protocol and instinct of special operations warfare. "Chief, what are you doing?" Rodriguez asked, watching in disbelief as Thompson removed his backup weapon. SEAL operators never gave up their weapons, especially not in the middle of a firefight where every bullet could mean the difference between life and death. His actions seemed to defy everything she knew about Special Forces procedures. Thompson's expression was calm but determined as he explained his reasoning. The success of the mission depended on Rodriguez having enough ammunition to complete her part of the plan. His sniper rifle had plenty of rounds for covering fire, but she would need more than 3 bullets to effectively draw enemy attention and protect her team during the breakout attempt. Sometimes, he said, survival meant making decisions that Handbook never covered. Thompson extended his sidearm toward Rodriguez, grip first in a gesture that seemed to suspend the chaos of battle around them. "Take it," he said simply. 15 rounds fully loaded, You're going to need every one of them. The weight of his sacrifice wasn't lost on either of them. A SEAL. Operator was trusting his life to her, ability to complete the mission while he went into battle with one less. But then Rodriguez hesitated for a moment, understanding the magnitude of what Thompson was offering. In the special operations community, a warrior's weapons were sacred, never to be surrendered or shared except in the most extreme circumstances. Thompson was essentially betting his life that she could use his sidearm effectively enough to justify leaving him more vulnerable in the firefight. "I've been watching how you handle your rifle," Thompson continued, noting her reluctance. "You've got good instincts and steady hands. That's more important than advanced training when everything goes sideways." He gestured toward the enemy positions. "Besides, I've got 40 rounds in this sniper rifle and the best shooting position in the village. You need the firepower more than I do right now." The exchange of weapons took only seconds, but it felt like a pivotal moment in the battle. Rodriguez secured Thompson's sidearm, feeling the unfamiliar weight and balance of the SEAL-issued weapon. It was slightly different from her standard military pistol, with custom grips and enhanced sights that spoke to the level of precision expected from special operations forces. Thompson quickly briefed her on the weapon's characteristics: slightly heavier trigger pull than she was used to, but extremely reliable and accurate. He showed her the tactical reload procedure and pointed out the night sights, though the desert sun made them unnecessary at the moment. His casual expertise with the weapon was evident in every gesture and explanation. "On my mark, you're going to sprint to that low wall by the well," Thompson said, pointing to a position that offered better angles on the enemy while providing reasonable cover. "I'll be putting rounds downrange to keep their heads down, but you'll still be exposed for about 8 seconds. Once you're in position, start engaging targets from north to south. That's the order my team will be clearing them." Rodriguez studied the route, calculating distances and identifying potential obstacles. The path would take her through a section of the village square where the Taliban had overlapping fields of fire. But Thompson's covering shots would hopefully disrupt their ability to track her movement accurately. The timing had to be perfect, or she would be caught in the open with nowhere to hide. The radio brought more urgent reports from both teams. Private Chen's condition was deteriorating, and Sergeant Williams reported seeing insurgents moving into final assault positions. Thompson's SEAL teammates confirmed they were ready to begin the synchronized attack. But the window of opportunity was closing rapidly as the Taliban consolidated their advantages. Thompson settled into his shooting position, adjusting his scope for the longer-range shots he would need to make. His movements were economical and practiced, every action serving a specific purpose in preparing for the complex engagement ahead. Rodriguez watched him work, gaining confidence from his professional competence and calm demeanor under extreme pressure. "Remember," Thompson said as he chambered around, "once we start this, there's no stopping until everyone's at the extraction point. Your people are counting on us to execute this perfectly." He looked directly at Rodriguez, his eyes conveying both the seriousness of their situation and his complete confidence in her ability to perform under fire. The moment Thompson gave the signal, Rodriguez exploded from her covered position, sprinting across the open ground while his sniper rifle began its methodical work. The sharp crack of his precision shots mixed with the heavier reports of enemy AK-47s as the Taliban fighters reacted to her sudden movement. She could hear bullets snapping past her head, but Thompson's covering fire was keeping most of the insurgents from taking careful aim. Rodriguez reached the stone wall by the well, just as Thompson eliminated a sniper in the minaret with a single shot. She immediately began engaging targets with his sidearm, surprised by the weapon's accuracy and manageable recoil. The SEAL's custom modifications made a noticeable difference in her ability to place effective shots under stress, and she quickly found her rhythm in the coordinated attack. The battle transformed from a desperate defensive action into an aggressive assault as Thompson's SEAL teammates joined the fight from their concealed positions. Rodriguez watched in amazement as the special operations soldiers moved through the village like ghosts, appearing long enough to eliminate targets before melting back into cover. Their level of coordination and tactical proficiency was unlike anything she had ever witnessed. Thompson's radio guidance kept Rodriguez informed of which targets to engage while his teammates systematically cleared buildings and eliminated machine gun nests. The Taliban fighters, caught off guard by the sudden shift in momentum, began making tactical errors as they tried to respond to attacks from multiple directions. Their carefully planned ambush was unraveling under the pressure of the SEAL counterattack. "Tango down in the blue building," came a calm voice over Thompson's radio. "Moving to secondary position." Rodriguez marveled at the professional composure of the SEAL operators, who communicated like they were conducting a training exercise rather than fighting for their lives. Their confidence was infectious, and she found herself operating with a level of aggression she hadn't known she possessed. The tide of battle continued to turn as Rodriguez and Thompson worked in perfect synchronization. His sniper rifle eliminated long-range threats while she engaged closer targets, creating a deadly combination that the insurgents couldn't effectively counter. The Taliban fighters, who had seemed so confident and well-organized just minutes earlier, were now retreating or taking cover, their assault momentum completely broken. Rodriguez's radio crackled with excited reports from her team members. Sergeant Williams announced that the pressure on his position had lifted significantly, allowing him to begin moving toward the extraction point. Private Chen, despite his wounded leg, was able to move with assistance now that the heavy enemy fire had shifted away from his building. Thompson eliminated another insurgent with a precise shot, then signaled Rodriguez to begin moving toward her team's positions. The synchronized attack had succeeded beyond their most optimistic expectations, but the SEAL operator knew that Taliban reinforcements could arrive at any moment. Speed was now more important than perfect tactics, and every second counted in getting the scattered American forces to safety. As Rodriguez bounded from cover to cover, using the movement techniques Thompson had quickly taught her, she realized how much she had learned in the past few minutes of combat. The SEAL operator had not only shared his weapon, but had also imparted tactical knowledge that would serve her for the rest of her military career. His calm leadership under fire had transformed a hopeless situation into a successful rescue operation. The extraction point was now within reach, and Rodriguez could see her team members beginning to converge on the helicopter landing zone. Thompson's precise shooting continued to suppress any remaining enemy resistance, while his SEAL teammates provided security for the withdrawal. What had started as a deadly trap for American forces was ending as a tactical victory, thanks to the intervention of the Special Operations Team. The sound of approaching helicopters filled the desert air as Rodriguez reached the extraction point where her team had gathered. Private Chen was pale but conscious, supported by two soldiers who had managed to retrieve him during the chaos of the counterattack. Sergeant Williams was already coordinating the loading sequence, his relief evident as he counted heads and confirmed that all team members had survived the ambush. Thompson appeared at Rodriguez's side, seemingly materializing from the desert shadows with the same stealth that had characterized his entire team's operations. His sniper rifle was slung across his back, and despite the intense firefight they had just survived, he appeared calm and collected. The SEAL operator had successfully orchestrated one of the most complex small unit actions Rodriguez had ever witnessed. "Outstanding work, Sergeant," Thompson said as he accepted his sidearm back from Rodriguez. She noticed that he quickly checked the weapon's condition and remaining ammunition with the automatic precision of a professional warrior. "You handled that weapon like you'd been training with it for years. Ever think about applying for special operations?" The helicopters touched down in a cloud of dust and debris, their door gunners scanning the surrounding area for any signs of remaining Taliban fighters. Thompson's SEAL teammates emerged from various positions around the perimeter, having maintained security throughout the extraction process. Rodriguez was amazed to realize she had never seen most of them during the entire operation, despite their crucial role in the rescue. As the medical personnel began treating Private Chen's wounds, Rodriguez took a moment to process what had just happened. An hour earlier, she had been trapped with minimal ammunition and no hope of survival. Now, thanks to Thompson's intervention and tactical expertise, her entire team was alive and preparing to return to base. The transformation seemed almost impossible to believe. Thompson gathered his SEAL teammates for a quick debrief, while the Army soldiers loaded into their helicopter. Rodriguez could hear fragments of their conversation, technical discussions about ammunition expenditure, target identification, and movement techniques that revealed the depth of their professional analysis. Even successful operations were learning opportunities for these elite warriors. Before boarding his team's helicopter, Thompson approached Rodriguez one final time. He handed her a small item, a spent brass casing from one of his sniper shots during the battle. "Something to remember today by," he said with a slight smile. "You've got the instincts for this kind of work. Don't let anyone tell you different." As both helicopters lifted off from the desert landing zone, Rodriguez looked down at the village where she had nearly died just minutes earlier. The Taliban fighters had vanished back into the civilian population, leaving behind only empty buildings and scattered equipment. The speed with which the battle had shifted from desperate defense to successful extraction still seemed surreal. During the flight back to base, Rodriguez examined the brass casing Thompson had given her. Etched into the metal were the coordinates of their battle and the date, a custom marking that suggested the SEAL operator had been planning to commemorate the engagement even before it ended. His confidence in the mission's success had never wavered, even during the most dangerous moments. The helicopter carrying Thompson's SEAL team peeled away toward their classified destination, disappearing into the desert heat shimmer as mysteriously as they had arrived. Rodriguez realized she might never see the operator again, despite the bond forged in those crucial minutes of combat. Such was the nature of special operations, warriors who appeared when needed most, then vanished back into the shadows. Months later, Rodriguez would apply for and be accepted into military police special response team training, inspired by Thompson's demonstration of tactical excellence under pressure. The brass casing sat on her desk throughout the challenging selection process, a reminder that sometimes survival depends on the willingness of one warrior to trust another with their life. Thompson's decision to share his weapon had saved not only her team but had also changed the trajectory of her entire military career.